importance of moral reformation, a knowledge of self.
We must work passionately and unrelentingly for first-class citizenship.
For instance, if the average so-called Negro, he doesn't think that he can run the business and provide jobs for himself.
Yes, we whack them and knows everything.
We got to organize.
And because of this, he thinks that he can only get a job from the white man, or he can only get rules from the white man, or he can only get food from the white man.
We got to organize so effectively and so well and engage in such powerful, creative protests that there will not be a power in the world that can stop us.
We gotta be proud to be black. Don't worry about what they say. We gotta think smarter and live smarter. We gotta want more and work harder, cause they ain't giving it to us. Put your all in. If you truly wanna make it, and be waiting for handouts, baby, you gotta take it. Like Martin gotta have a dream, cause he had one. Like Malcolm, by any means, gotta get that done. Don't be ashamed of who you are. Stick your chest out proud. Make them believe that you're the best. Show them what you about. We gotta love each other. Stop killing each other. We gotta unitize and don't believe the lies. This is a message to the blacks and any other minority. Live well and love self. That's the priority.
Been taught for so many centuries that they are nobody is not easy.
So here,
Ooh, okay, see Jumbo. It just kind of went off like that, huh? Yeah? Okay. All right, see Jumbo, everybody. Welcome back to Satora's Black History Corner Internet program. I'm your host, Catherine Hunter Williams, along with my co-host, Miss Catherine Blake.
Hello, everybody.
Before we get into our story, let's take a minute to remember actor Geoffrey Holder, who joined his beloved ancestors earlier this month on October 5th, 2014. Just take a moment to remember him. Geoffrey Lamont Holder was a Trinidadian actor, choreographer, director, dancer, painter, costume designer, singer, and a voiceover artist. He had a very deep voice. If anybody remember Geoffrey Holder, they would remember his voice.
Amen.
So let's just take a moment right now to just remember him. He's on the screen. I like that. That's the way I like it. That's it. Thank you. Just to remember Geoffrey Holder, and like I said, he joined his beloved ancestors this month on October 5th, 2014. Just a moment of silence to always remember, because we will be joining them after a while. Okay, moving forward. Miss B is going to tell our story about Milla Granson, also known as Lily Ann Granderson.
Mm-hmm.
And when she's done, I'm going to tell our story regarding the 93rd anniversary of Black Wall Street.
Amen.
That took place earlier this year, but we want you all to remember what happened there and to know American Africans did it back then, that they can do it again today if we just would come together.
Amen.
All right, Miss B, you got it.
Okay, this was 1816 in Virginia, or maybe 18...
No, that's Black Wall Street. We talking about Milla
Granderson.
There you go.
Yeah. Probably in Natchez, Mississippi. The research re-identified Milla Granson as Lily Ann Granderson.
Yeah.
She was born into slavery. Granderson was moved to Kentucky at some point in her childhood, and she worked in her master's house and became close to his children, who taught her how to read and write. And when her master died, she was sold to a Mississippi slaveholder and put to work in the cotton fields. But after a time, she was transferred to his house in Natchez. There she established a midnight school for slaves. Mississippi law prohibited the literacy of slaves.
Can I add something, Catherine, on there? Because you had talked about that She was moved to Kentucky and worked as a house slave because of her fair skin.
Right.
Yeah, and that's because she is a woman of Native American and American African descent. So the genes on the Native American really took over and gave her that real fair complexion.
And the ones with the fair complexion worked in the house.
Yeah.
And
And
everybody else worked outside.
outside in the field. The master's children even taught Lily Ann how to read and write. But that's as far as working in the house and stuff. And the other ones working in the fields. That kind of still goes on today, don't it?
Yes, it does.
In its own kind of
Right. Racism.
way.
The darker skinned you are, I think it's more of a people are afraid. Even our own people
Are
are afraid of darker skin
complexion
because
people.
we've been taught that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've been taught that.
yeah, that's sad.
Yeah,
But it
is.
still goes on from
Yeah.
slavery days. All right. But I wanted them to know that the master's children taught her how to read and to write. And what's so awesome to me about it is she didn't keep it to herself.
No, she
did
didn't.
what you said, open up a school.
Yes, she did.
Go ahead.
Okay, let me see. There she established a midnight school for slaves. Now, Mississippi law prohibited the literacy of slaves. Learning and teaching had to be done clandestinely at the risk of severe punishment. We know what that was. Granderson School operated at night from 11 at night to 2 in the morning.
They would sneak down
Yeah,
there.
they snuck out and walked a long way to get there.
Get there.
She took 12 students at a time, and over the course of 7 years, hundreds passed through her secret classroom. And in 1863, Northern missionaries arrived in the wake of Union troops to establish schools for black children, were surprised to discover Granderson's midlight operation. Not midnight, they called it midlight operation because, moonlight operations.
They say that her class size was limited to 12
At times.
at time, and they would graduate. They would, after they learned to read and write, they would graduate, and then there was room for 12 more. That's awesome.
Moonlight operations. As a freed woman, Granderson was hired as a teacher by the American Missionary Association, and records of the Freedmen's Bank in Natchez indicates that she opened an account there in 1870. A black woman opening up a bank account?
Freedman's bank account.
Freedmen's Bank account.
Yep.
She was 54 years old, and she was still teaching. She was married and the mother of 2, and according to 1880 census record, she was still living in Natchez with her 2 children.
Praise the Lord.
Amen. And that's a picture of her teaching. It looks like more than 12 in there,
Yeah.
but I know that she had.
But it's a schoolroom
Right.
setting.
Right,
We couldn't actually find any pictures of her.
right.
Maybe she didn't take any during that time. But I did it just to show you that her in a schoolroom setting
Right.
of teaching not only children but adults also.
Absolutely.
Right.
In secret. Moonlight operations.
Yeah. They would come to see her at 11 o'clock at night.
11 o'clock at night.
And they came distances
Yes.
to
And
come.
stayed till 2.
That's how important it was for them to learn how to read and write. Something happened along the way that our youth today don't care if they can read or write.
And that's really a shame too.
We keep saying it's sad, this is sad, this is sad. But it's somewhere in there, something got lost.
Something's lost, yeah.
Yeah, and somehow, I don't know if we can find it or try to get it back, or if it's just this generation that it happened to, or the last couple of generations, and eventually it's gonna get back to knowing what's important to us, or we're gonna die out if we don't watch it.
Well, we do have some youth, some young people that are definitely excelling. We do have to.
We
gotta
have
give
'em.
Yeah, we do have
Yeah,
them.
we have them.
And it's a blessing to see, especially young children, 5 and 6 years old that can read.
Do you think that starts at home? I think
I
it all
do.
starts at home.
I do.
And if parents sit down and read to their children, I mean,
Well, not only just parents, it takes a village to raise a child. So grandmothers, grandfathers, uncles, and aunts, nephews and nieces, all of you that know how to read to the babies.
and tell them how important it
Yes.
is to know how to read.
Because when they get to the point where they want to know how to read, they want to learn words, they want to sound words out, and they've got so many educational tools out for young people, for little young children. Like my little great grandson, he has his little knobby. He knows his colors. He knows the sounds animals make. He knows his alphabets. I'm teaching him to
Now
him.
that's when you could come to us.
He knows
There you go.
his numbers, and he knows
Thank
his
you.
shapes. It is really so refreshing when you put an investment in your child, and everybody help out with them.
And then as they grow up to become adults, you see that
Right.
investment pay off.
Absolutely.
Nothing like it.
Nothing like it.
All right. You got any more you want to add?
No, I thought this was so interesting. A moonlight operation, a school at night,
How
night
important
school,
education
how important
is.
it is.
To read and write.
Right, and they really wanted it. This was something they really, really wanted.
All right.
And I mean, how many kids would stay up till 11 and go to school till 2 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
today,
And then get up and go to the fields.
and then get up, go to
In
the
the
cotton
morning.
field and work.
You can't hardly get them to get up and go to church. So, and they don't want to be going to school. They be looking forward to those winter
Right.
days. Snow day, no school.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's our story about Miller
Yes.
Grandson, also known as Lily Ann Grander's son.
Yes, the moonlight operations.
All right. All right, let's move forward into our story about the 93rd anniversary of Black Wall Street
Amen.
that took place earlier this year. This was sent to me. I didn't even know they had a 93rd anniversary. We have talked about this before on the program. But it's been 93 years since this happened. And I said why I wanted to do it is because we need to remember what happened there, and to know American Africans did it back then. They could do it again today if we just come together. And we just have a tendency, we have a crab syndrome going on. You see somebody moving up and doing something and stuff, and then you want to try to pull them down. How can we do anything?
You got to lift each other up.
Thank you. Help one another.
Right.
Ujama, as I call it, cooperative economics also.
Absolutely. Lifting
Yeah.
as we climb.
Thank you. All right, let's go to this story about, our story about,
Mary Church Terrell, that's her statement, her quote.
what?
Lifting as we climb.
Oh, I like to say as our youth are uplifted, they uplift us also in the community. I like to say that's my saying. Because it is about them. If they get uplifted and they move and do things, they also bring us up in the community. If they
Amen.
stay in the community, that's the difference.
Right.
All right, Black Wall Street, Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma. As Catherine was telling me earlier, that Greenwood was a street.
Yes.
And the information I have, Greenwood is a neighborhood in Tulsa,
It is
Oklahoma.
a neighborhood also, yes.
But it's a street named after the
there is
Greenwood
There's
up
Greenwood
area.
Street, there's Greenwood Place, and there's Greenwood Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah. And
So
we're all
several-
right there together.
Several names of Greenwood.
And it was it's a main street. It's a main, like Saginaw Street. It was a main street.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Greenwood, it's like they trying to change it. This came from Wikipedia, Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
That's the city, Tulsa.
Yeah,
Greenwood is the street.
it's the street.
Mm-hmm.
But they making it as though Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
No.
Okay. Catherine came from there. That's why she knows so much about it.
Yeah, I was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, at Moulton's Hospital on Greenwood Street in the basement
Okay.
because they didn't allow black women to have babies upstairs.
Oof.
Yeah. Yes, I know that.
Lord, our history is, we have some stuff. That's why I say the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mhm.
We must know it all in order to empower ourselves to move forward, to understand what's going on today at this time, in the present.
Absolutely.
So, as they say, learn from the past, understand the present, and to move forward
Absolutely.
to the future. Okay, back to this story.
Okay.
Because they flipping the pictures. Right now they got the Ku Klux Klan going on there, which is really, I'm going to get to them. All right. As one of the most successful and wealthiest American African communities in the United States during the early 20th century, it was popularly known as America's Black Wall Street
Right.
until the Tulsa race riot of 1921.
Absolutely.
The invasion was one of the most devastating massacres in the history of United States race relations, destroying the once thriving Greenwood community.
Yes.
They had 600 churches.
There was one.
600 businesses, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
600 business, 21 churches, 21 restaurants, 30 grocery stores. We can't even get one grocery store in the city of Atlanta. 21 movie theaters, 6 private airplanes, 1 hospital. They had their own hospital. They had their own bank. And they had their own school system. Many of them, I'm getting ahead of myself. Within the 5 years after the massacre, surviving residents who chose to remain in Tulsa rebuilt much of the district. They accomplished this despite the opposition of many white Tulsa political and business leaders. It resumed being a vital black community until segregation was overturned by the federal government, one way or the other, huh?
Well,
One way or the other. It was overturned by the federal government during the 1950s and 60s. Desegregation encouraged the blacks to live and shop elsewhere in the city. So this is what happened, huh?
yeah, they black people had their own everything because they were being
Yeah, they
cheated.
had their own everything.
Yeah, they had, and they were not shopping at the white stores. They couldn't stay in the white hotel. Did you have hotels on it? We had hotels too.
Yeah, hotels.
Yeah.
But I didn't put how many it was.
Because you couldn't stay in the hotel, you couldn't eat in the restaurants, you couldn't go to the churches, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. So they developed their own. And the white folks' businesses started going down. They were not making money. They said something had to be done, and that's what they did.
Well, they did, but
They did something about it.
segregation was overturned by the federal government. They were segregated. But back in those days, things that black people could not get in or be involved in,
Right.
they started their own. That's
they started
all.
their own.
They started their own churches.
And it was thriving. Very nice.
And what I say, the segregation encouraged blacks to live and shop elsewhere in the city, causing Greenwood to lose much of its original vitality. That means money. Since then, city leaders have attempted to encourage other economic development activities nearby. Are y'all gonna just keep that one picture there? Can you go to where it says the Black Wall Street?
Oh, they got a memorial up there.
Yeah, but that's the last picture that I wanted them to see. There it go. That's Black Wall Street. Those are the black people that owned all those businesses. And you can see on there, I don't know if y'all can see it, but it says like 600 businesses, 21 churches, 21 restaurants, 30 grocery stores, 21 movie theaters, 6 private airplanes, several hotels, or
Yeah, they had hotels. They had to have their own hotel.
1 hospital, 1 bank, and its own school system. They did this because they couldn't shop at whites
Right.
stores. You know, back in that was the Jim Crow time. Colored entrances, colored water fountains. If you wanted to go to a hotel, you had to, I don't even know if they let blacks in hotels. If they did, they had to come in the back door.
No, they wouldn't let them stay there. They
That's
had to
why
have
they started their own.
They had to have their own.
But that's why also, you know, it's kind of showing me why we will not come together. Because if we come together and start our own thing, then we're committing segregation. Huh?
Somewhat.
Okay, we're going to leave that alone. Many black Americans moved to Oklahoma in the years before and after 1907, which is the year Oklahoma became a state. Oklahoma represented change and provided a chance for black Americans to get away from slavery and the harsh racism of their previous homes. Most of them traveled from other states in the South where racism was very prevalent. That's why they got their own. And Oklahoma offered hope and provided all people with a chance to start over. They traveled to Oklahoma by wagon, horses, train, and even some of them walked on foot.
When they say train, they mean hobo.
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 Many of them.
Don't think that they bought a ticket.
Oh, okay. Many of them were successful doctors and lawyers who were multimillionaires. And we know today we have many more multimillionaires, and that we could come, even if they just came together and supported the event that you're talking about that y'all finna do up here at Bunch School. If you got 1 or 2 millionaires, and we have them in the city of Flint, to come behind you and back you, that's the idea. Okay?
Okay. We'll use it.
Idea. Yeah, because I'm sure the people that's working with y'all know some of these, you know, Mateen Clean.
Somebody knows somebody.
Somebody knows somebody.
Right.
That's right. It's some millionaires in the city of Flint, multi.
All right.
Just get to them. And not just black, but also white. Why not? Anyway. Yeah, let's move forward. During the oil boom of 1910s, the area northeast of Oklahoma around Tulsa flourished, including the Greenwood neighborhood, which came to be known as Negro Wall Street, now commonly referred to as Black Wall Street. The area was home to several prominent black businessmen, many of them multimillionaires, as I said. Greenwood boasted a variety of thriving businesses that were very successful up until the Tulsa race riots. Not only did black Americans want to contribute to the success of their own shops, but also the racial segregation laws prevented them from shopping anywhere other than Greenwood. Following the riots, the area was rebuilt and thrived until the 1960s, when desegregation allowed blacks to shop in areas that were restricted before, which means we could go into white stores and buy. And we made those white stores very prosperous because they were getting our money.
See, we came up here to Michigan in '63. So, yeah.
Well, my dad bought us here 1952, but we came different. We came from Blythesville, Arkansas. Yeah. So, anyway. Let's move forward. Around the start of the 20th century, O.W. Gurley, a wealthy American African landowner from Arkansas, traversed the United States to participate in the Oklahoma land run of 1889. The young entrepreneur had just resigned from the presidential appointment under President Grover Cleveland in order to strike out on his own. In 1906, Gurley moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where he purchased 40 acres of land, 40 acres and a mule, which was only to be sold to colored. Black ownership was unheard of at that time. Among Gurley's first businesses was a rooming house, which was located on the dusty trail near the railroad tracks. This road was given the name Greenwood Avenue.
I know those railroad tracks very well because I walked them, crossed them to go to Dunbar Elementary School.
Did you know it was named for a city in Mississippi, though?
Greenwood at Green. Yeah, I know
Greenwood.
Mississippi, Greenwood, Mississippi. Yeah.
Yep. The area became very popular among American African migrants fleeing the oppression in Mississippi. Mississippi is a monster. I just was doing some stories about Mississippi. Mississippi had a hell of a hold on the black people there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. They would find refuge in Gurley's building as the racial persecution from the South was non-existent on Greenwood, so they wasn't bothered. They didn't come up there messing with them when they moved up there. In addition to his rooming house, Gurley built 3 two-story buildings and 5 residents and bought an 80-acre farm in Rogers County. Gurley also founded what is today Vernon AME Church. Don't we have one of them in Flint? Wow. The implementation of color segregation set the Greenwood boundaries of separateness that exist to this day. Pine Street to the north, Archer Street and the Frisco tracks to the south, Cincinnati Street on the west, and Lansing Street on the east. The segregation is pronounced in subtle landmarks. South of Archer, Greenwood Avenue does not exist in white neighborhood.
No, they don't.
Okay,
and now, if you recall, the group, the Gap Band, remember the Gap Band? That's Greenwood, Archie, and Pine. They were from Oklahoma.
Okay.
And those were the streets they lived on. The Gap Band, Greenwood, Archie, and Pine. Main streets that black people lived on.
The picture you're looking at right now has some of these black men to the left, to my left, in front of a business. Then you see the Ku Klux Klan down to the lower right. And then up there at the top on the right-hand side, you see where the city was blown up. And I want Catherine to kind of tell some information about the dropping of the bomb, which was, as we know, was not the first time that a bomb was not dropped on a neighborhood in this country. Black neighborhood.
They used airplanes and they dropped bombs and really messed that place up. And they did round up black people, and they had them at the baseball field as a prison camp. It was really terrible. I've got several pictures of the Vernon Chapel, not Vernon Chapel, but the Vernon AME Church, and some of the hotels and the restaurants and how nice they were. And the hotel, the main hotel, was one of the nicest hotels in the country. It was beautiful. And the restaurants, the stores, the grocery stores, and they had such a community togetherness going on, where the farmers with the community and the stores had their own thing going on together. Yeah, they were our brother of another color was very jealous of the way they had things going, because they had it going on.
Well, it says that picture there is a historical account of the destruction of North Tulsa, Oklahoma, in 1921 by white local racist mobs, jealous by the prosperity of that black community known as Black Wall Street. And also, in 1921, the Greenwood Avenue district of Tulsa, Oklahoma was an exemplar of what a motivated American African middle class could accomplish.
Right.
Okay.
Now, Greenwood Place is now a business area. They tore, that was a community of homes. My grandfather built that house that my grandmother lived in. And we raised chickens. Just about everybody around there raised chickens. We ate chicken every day. And we had our own little swimming pool. We had a swing set. Yeah, we had it going on.
Yeah.
But the thing about it was everything was torn down in that neighborhood, and it is no longer a neighborhood of community. It is a business district area.
Okay, I got to watch the time because John told me I got 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. This was dubbed the Negro Wall Street Greenwood Avenue was populated by successful American African families, business, hospitals, and churches. All this would change on May 31st. A young black man was accused of attempting to rape a white woman in Tulsa. Set it off. But really behind it,
Yeah.
really behind it
You
is
know
the
what it
jealousy
was,
of the
right.
prosperity.
Yeah, I walked to Dunbar School. My mother attended Booker T. Washington, and I also attended Carver Junior, not junior high, Junior Carver Elementary School.
As I said, they had their own school system.
Yes, we did.
All right.
Yeah, all black.
Greenwood was flourishing, and that's why it was called the Black Wall Street, because of a dispute of one man's alleged actions. An entire community was disseminated. That's where I was talking about. They said attempted rape of a white woman. You know that Second Amendment right you love so much? Apparently, that don't apply if you're black. Pick up guns to defend your homes and livelihood, and they would drop leftover World War II bombs on you.
Yes.
It makes the bootstrap theory of success that's much more sickening. Here was a community that did work hard to do well, did so well that they were home to several multimillionaires, people who made their money not through illegal activity, but respectable professionals like medicine, law, and all their hard work. The wealth they had worked so hard to accumulate was burned to the ground. Can you put that picture up again with the Black Wall Street? Not only was this community almost literally bombed out of existence in the aftermath, there was a concerted effort to price black people out of their homes through establishing new building codes that would have made rebuilding prohibitive. Oh, thank you. That's the memorial of this year, that happened in 1921, but this year was the 93rd year anniversary. And that's the memorial that they have up there. That's the picture. I can't really see what it says on there. Can you see what it says?
It says 1921 Black Wall Street Memorial.
Okay. After all that, as mentioned at the top of this piece, the history of what happened was omitted from our knowledge. That's why I'm bringing it up too. One of the most worst race riots ever to happen in U.S. history simply vanished from my collective memories. It was really scary when you think about it. I'm only 50% sure this comparison is appropriate. Feel free to check me if it's offensive. But they do say that the last step in genocide is to deny it ever happened.
Well, everyone in Tulsa, Oklahoma, probably my age, I don't know younger, but we know what happened. We know.
All right.
And not only that, well, that's a whole nother thing. Talking about the Trail of Tears. And
Trail of Tears now, you know, that's Native American. You're right, that is a whole nother thing.
That's a whole nother thing, but my family was in that.
Okay. All right. Okay. John, how I'm doing? 3 minutes? Okay. I'm wrapping up right now. Okay. And do
Okay,
you want me to say the phone number on here?
Well, if I could just say that one of the theaters that was there was called the Rex Theater, REX.
Okay.
Yes, and I did go to the shows there.
You went down memory lane today, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
John, is it all right to tell the phone number? Can you hear me? John?
Yeah, we don't have the telephone number on here right now.
Okay. That's what I need to know. Okay. All right, that's our story today, or our stories today, about Greenwood Avenue in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
And I'm not that old, but I remember a lot of things, and I know Greenwood Street. I lived on Greenwood Street. My grandmother lived on Greenwood Place. My cousins lived on Greenwood Avenue. So we all know. about Greenwood and Archie and Pine and Lance.
Well, their loss
Yeah.
was our gain.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm glad to know you.
Yeah.
All right, that's our story of Miller, is it
Miller.
Miller? Grandson, also known as Lily Ann Granderson. And also to remember Geoffrey Holder, who joined his ancestors on October 5th, 2014.
I wish we could have had that 7-Up commercial he did.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, it's
yeah.
a picture of him on there, but I don't think I gave it to John. Satora's Black History Corner internet program comes to you via satellite at allpointstv.com. And that's all one word except the .com. Allpointstv is one word, .com. You can watch our program every second and fourth Monday of the month starting at 3:30 p.m. Also be sure to watch what's going on with political pundit Dr. George Moss every Monday at 2 p.m. We sincerely hope you enjoyed our theme song, Be Proud to Be Black, featuring Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, written by TP the Product. If you would like more information, call TP the Product at 810-962-3258. And I apologize for all this time giving y'all the wrong number, but you can contact him at 810-962-3258. As always, I like to say asante, which is Swahili, word that means thanks to all of you who have watched our program today. And if you have liked what you have seen and heard, please pass it on to others. We need your support. Without it, we would truly cease to exist. Until next time, keep on keeping on with us and stay in perfect hotel, which means peace.
Peace.
The importance of moral reformation, a knowledge of
We
self.
must work passionately and unrelentingly for first-class citizenship.
For instance, if the average so-called Negro, he doesn't think that he can go into business and provide jobs for himself.
We've got to get smart. We've got to organize.
And because of this, he thinks that he can only get a job from the white man, or he can only get clothes from the white man, or he can only get food from the white man.
We've got to organize so effectively and so well and engage in such powerful, creative protests that there will not be a power in the world that can stop us.
We gotta be proud to be black. Don't worry about what they say. We gotta think smarter and live smarter. We gotta want more and work harder, cause they ain't giving it to us. Put your all in. If you truly wanna make it, can't be waiting for handouts, baby, you gotta take it. Like Martin gotta have a dream, cause he had one. Like Malcolm, by any means, gotta get that done. Don't be ashamed of who you are. Stick your chest out proud. Make them believe that you're the best. Show them what you about. We gotta love each other. Stop killing each other. We gotta unitize and don't believe the lies. This is a message to the blacks and any other minority. Live well and love self. That's the priority.
Been taught for so many centuries that they are nobody is not easy.
So they very skillfully made you believe hate our African identity.
Maybe the English language should be reconstructed so that teachers will not be forced to teach the Negro child 60 ways to despise himself and thereby perpetuate his false sense of inferiority.
Hating our features and our skin and our blood, we had to end up hating ourselves. It made us feel